And welcome back to Career Build Series episode 222. And so in this video, I'm going to do some testing on Proteus's cooling. I've been having some cooling issues with Proteus, so it ends up being some of it's just connection issues. And we'll kind of go through some of the theory of cooling and the importance of flow rates. So we'll see you in there. All right, so I'm doing a little cooling test here on Proteus. So I figured out one of the reasons why I had a couple engines running hot, and then I had my Rockstar. I still don't know why my Rockstar is like a couple degrees cooler than another one, but I noticed that the really hot engine, I actually forgot to hook up a pump, and then there was another one. Oh, I'm trying to. This dog's always panting. I think I'm trying to move them. Um, and so that was one of the pumps wasn't running, so that would explain that. And then so essentially wasn't getting any cooling out of that engine, so that makes sense. And so I'm trying to get these so that my engines are all air cooled effectively. So let him go around in here. Yeah, so let's go take it for a test run. So I'm just gonna go hammer it, leave the engines cranked as high as I can get them, and run with that. This floor is awfully light. Need to fix that too. So. All right, so let's fire up. Bunch of stuff I want to kind of change, redo. I think I'm going to do hold starters on these. Just a bunch of stuff, so. Turn down the sounds a little bit. The prop noise is very loud. I'll start setting in my stuff. 078 is going to be the climb out up to 5,000. I don't want to go too high. I don't want to get the benefit of cooling out there. Let's go flaps for takeoff. Let's go beacon. Still haven't reversed my props, which I need to do at some point. I just want to reverse, one should be push the props forward, go to low pitch, and two should be increase pitch, bring the prop lever back. I wish, one thing I wish the devs would do is incorporate it into the panels, which again, I haven't put in a request, so I don't expect them to do that anyway, but, what I would like to do is put in kind of like a panel option for throttles and mixtures and props and stuff, so that you can be a little bit more space conscious. Like if you had a throttle that would take up these two, so 1 and 2 would take up a throttle, so your lever was this long, you had another lever here. You could put 4 levers there easily. That would be really nice. The panels, the way they do the panels is excellent. It just, I would like some more options, frankly. Tail needs to come up. Now we'll leave the logo light off. I think we're pretty good to go. Once that tail snaps up, we'll be good. Still want to do APU at some point. These are my props. You snapped yet? Is that tail up? Yeah, tail's up. All right, we're good to go. Just gonna go run this and test it. The rate gear's coming up. One of the reasons you suck your gear up as soon as you get a positive rate on a large aircraft is you do not have the space to land back on the runway. Small aircraft you do. Like if you're taking off a Cessna all the way at the end of that runway, you could put it right back down if you needed to. So I'm looking for max RPM. I'm not going to pull my props back. I just want to go ahead and, I'm just looking to heat these up as fast as possible. So I'm not going to do some normal procedures just because the point is heat, and I'm going to run my heater as well. That will help get it a little hotter in here. So this engine was my Rockstar, and so this was this one was my Rockstar. This was the second best. You notice those are pretty much running perfectly in sync. They're all running in sync now. This one, you still hot? No. Okay, you notice they're all running in sync. So what happened was, so they're air cooled. So what happens is I don't know if you can see it. Let's go in third person, see if you can see it in third. Let me kill some lights here. So right there, if you see there's a ram scoop under there, and so that ram scoop is my coolant air. So it goes up, it's piped through, it's actually split. There's two sides, and there's a port loop and there's a starboard loop on each engine. And so that air comes up, it goes through an air liquid heat exchanger, and then if you notice these ports on the top, that's where the air comes out. And so we're putting cold air through there, and then I pump water through, and it exchanges the heat from the water to the liquid, and it cools my engines. And so my left one, my number one engine, was my hot engine, and it was hot because I forgot to hook up some of the pumps. So they had electricity, they just were not connected to be turned on. So they were never coming on, so they were effectively not being cooled at all. And so this one was always my rock star. If you notice, pretty much all in sync now. So, I thought I had a copy error, but it was just a hookup error. So, nice and easy fix. So, I really don't need to have these ultra cold. Like I talk about this all the time. How I was a professional pilot, and I kind of have, I would say, more skill in that field than most, and so part of my thing is I want work to do. I get incredibly bored if I'm just like, a moving map. I'm like, okay, and then have it on autopilot all the time. Like autopilot's fine, but like if I'm on autopilot and I have nothing to do, it's boring. Where like here I can do fuel crossfeed. I can, that's why it's manual. I can monitor my temperatures and actually have to do things like, consciously pull my power back, things like that. Like even this left one's running cool now. Yeah, this one's running a little cool now. So, I want to control my props, So a lot of this automation stuff I don't like to automate because I actually want to do it myself. That's why I kind of leave some of these things. So, we're also going to be running a little bit, like IRL, you'd bring the RPM down, and my normal procedure is I'd bring the props back to a higher pitch, or decrease that RPM. That would decrease my heat some, but again, we're doing a heat test, so trying to get these temps up. And so, I don't want to overbuild the cooling system, and I also want to make it so that I have to cool some. Alright, so temps are still pretty good. We've been running at max thrust here for a while. And, temps coming up, but it's coming up pretty reasonably. I'm trying to get these heated up. We will get some variation because the way they're cooled, the air cooled. So things like the propellers will push air into those rams. I think the wind will also push some in the rams from kind of testing. And so you get a situation like that. So while we're in here, I'm going to kind of talk about, let's go through my gauges, kind of thoughts of what I want to do in here as I just wait for those to heat up. So these are supposed to be voltages. And so this is kind of my normal system is I wish I could keep myself crouched. And so, like you see, these are reading nothing. I just need to fix them. So what they do is they take a battery through a delta, then I multiply them by 3600. And essentially all the needle's going to do is it's going to be on the right side. That's showing a charge. So it's showing that the alternators are charging the battery. And if it's on the left side, it's showing a discharge where the where we're using more electricity than we're making. And so that's all you really need to know, and that's one of the reasons why you have a charge-discharge gauge is, am I making more volts than I'm using? And then you can decide, okay, well, I need to turn on my APU. So APU is going to go in here. APU is auxiliary power unit. So generally, like in a turbine aircraft, like a jet, you'll have a small turbine that that you start up, and it's just a small axial, single-stage axial turbine, which kind of like a turbo in a car. And instead of having the exhaust gas turning the turbine, you are making, essentially, you're combusting jet fuel, and it's turning that, and then it's intaking air for the combustion cycle, and then it is turning a generator. So like, for example, in the Embraer 145, we had 2 generators per turbine. We had 2 turbines. So you have like a shaft coming off of the turbines, and it goes to the accessory gearbox, which powers your accessories, and so one of the accessories being your generators. And so we had 2 generators per turbine, so you had 2 engines, 4 generators, and then you had a 5th generator on the APU, and so a total of 5 generators. And this one I have 2 generators per engine, so that's 8. So they're just alternators. So I don't separate them. I just keep them as generators. So I have like for this, the batteries are all tied in too. So I have a battery per engine. So as you can see, get crawled on that. I have a battery per engine. So as you can see, I'm losing a little battery there because I killed one of my gens. Still probably should be all right. What's going to happen is they're auto-clutched through a PID, so they're automatically going to change the clutch on the other alternators to essentially pick up the slack. And so we have 4 generators running 8 alternators. And so that's good for redundancy. So if I was to shut down one of my engines, I'm losing, 2 alternators worth. And so that's kind of what that is. These are just going to read charge discharges, and it's checking if I'm charging discharging that. I have to, so it's seeing how that battery is charging and discharging. So that's kind of my top row. So this is going to be where is it? APU. So I might move this. I don't think I will though. I like to keep these systems together. The issue is that what I could do is move my prop controls down, but I don't think I'm going to. Just kind of running out of space here, but put APU on there, and then I'll put my APU reads here. So I'll have APU temp and voltage, and that's actually not an unreasonable way to do it. And the reason there is, if we look at my seat, I have to kind of look back and above me here to turn on the APU. And then as I'm flying, I can quickly just check my APU temp. I can check my APU voltage. And so that way I don't have to look behind me to check them. So that's actually not a bad spot for it. This is ground power. So if I was plugged in, I have a port right there. You can see it on the wing where the switch is. That opens up. And so if we're plugged into ground power, I can select that. And that closes the relay, allowing us to be powered on the ground. Then we have, so right now these are not connected, but they're saved for the APU for APU temperature and the voltage. And then these, I'm going to put some more probably gauges or something, or indicators. You often put your lights in a long row, and part of it's when you go to take off, you'll go beacon. Before you start your engines, then you'll go nav, strobes, lights on takeoff, and then you'll come off on some lights. You kind of want them in a row, and so you'll start clicking these sets on. Pretty much this for taxi, these for takeoff. Logo light is optional, just lights up my logo. All right, just checking on my temps here. So one thing I'm going to do is trying to get them up over 100, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my prop back like I would IRL and like I want in game. That's going to give me a higher speed. You see, we're only putting around at 111, and the reason is we don't have a lot of prop pitch, and so this keeps the load on the engine really low. Essentially, think of it, we have a small paddle. We can move that paddle really fast. We can change the speed of that paddle moving really quickly because the the amount of resistance on that paddle is very little. As we increase the pitch, our paddle's getting bigger and bigger, and so it's harder and harder to pull through the water, so we have resistance. So we can't change our speed very fast. And so for takeoff and landing, you want a low pitch, high RPM situation. Once you get up, climbing, you want a different setting. And cruise, you want a different setting. That's the benefits of a complex aircraft and variable pitch propellers. They're called constant speed propellers because you're setting the RPM you want for the props, and you're changing your engine power. I don't have it set up precisely like that. Part of the reason is it uses a prop governor. I can't really get that to work perfectly well. So I have it set up kind of somewhat realistic, but not perfectly. All right, so this one's hot. So I'm going to take some notes here on my engine cooling. Again, this is a test, so I want to get some notage here. We'll just write some notes down. All right, so let's see, 4. So these, one is now my rock star. One was my hottest, and one is now my rock star. So one is cold. One is number 1. So I'm gonna coming up with some nomenclature. 89, 91. So 2 and 3 are the same. 2 and 3 are the same. And then 4 is hot. Number 4 is hot. So it could be I screwed up connecting electricity to it. So this is my rock star now, the one that was the hottest. And this one is now my hot demon. So but hottest. It's not that hot. So for example, I'm going to put the temp so 99 while these are running at 92. And that one's at 90. So it kind of tells me that my number 4 is 9 degrees hotter than my number 1, and the others are just 2 degrees. So 2 degrees negligible. I don't really care about that. So this is coming over 100, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll work the props. So I want it to be 2 to reduce the prop RPM and increase the pitch, but I have it as 1, so eventually I'll change it. You'll notice manifold pressure goes up. That's not what should really happen, but I think what's happening is as I push more air with my props coming into higher pitch, I think it's actually stuffing more air in the cooling in the air manifolds. These are the air manifolds that actually feed the supercharger. So you notice we decrease RPM, which saves fuel. It decreases heat, and we gain speed, which makes sense because we're doing more work. So this one's still about 2 degrees cooler than these, and this one is 9. So yep, I'm going to start bringing the thrust back here. 120, I'll over temp, so I'm just going to go to a maintenance thrust setting here. So essentially all I'm doing is bringing them back until that just gently starts to lose some temp. And I kind of want to see what I'm at speed-wise. I want to streamline this cooling system just a hair. I want it to be a little bit more efficient. I'd like to keep my speed up 170 knots. So there we are right there. So we are now in maintenance mode. As you can see, we're losing a little temperature there. That one is not cooling well. You see how that one's not dropping temp? It's holding temp. And these are dropping temp. So this one is most likely, this one actually gained some temp. So this one is not temping right. This one, okay, and I have the heater on too, so the heat's putting some heat up in here. Curious if I shut the heater off, what we're looking at for temp drop. Okay, so this one's dropping temp now with heater off. Let's put it back on, see if it holds or it keeps dropping. It holds, so it's not a big deal. So see, it's actually gaining. Let's drop some heater off. It's dropping. So the heater is keeping that one hot, which is fine. These are working well. This one's my rock star, so I have to go through and check them. So I can do some things like shorten the run of the props. I'm sorry, shorten the run of the heat. And so I want to get some better cooling in here, but I want to keep it realistic. So let's go ahead and let's good test. Let's bring it back in the workbench. So it took me a little while to get that up to where I wanted to be to have some to get my data. Let's put it that way. All right, so good. Let me save this as cooling test. All right, so let me go through with my connections again. So this one used to be my hot dog. This is now cold. This is my coldest, and so one of the reasons was I didn't have the pumps on initially, a couple of these pumps. So I'll show you how the loop works. So right here, air comes in. It's T-valve split, comes up, and through a pump on either side. They're identical, as you can see. Comes through this heat exchanger, comes down, and it goes around, and it goes up and out. And so having these T-pipes isn't a great idea, so I might want to change that. I don't, so this one is cold, so this is cold. These are only like 2 degrees off, so I'm not really worried about these. Just double check in. I should have, what is 4 side, there's 4, there's 4. Just going through these, what's that? 4 and What do we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then I want to check this one, make sure I have 4 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Next is electricity. I want to make sure all this is powered. Power, power, power. This is my hot one now. Right here. That one's not connected. So this is why it's hot. One of these pumps isn't doing anything. Okay, good. So that solves that issue. Actually, I'm going to hook it to the string there. So I'm just checking electricity here. Make sure this is all running. These don't need to be connected. I don't shift gears on my engines because that's not realistic. You are connected. So this one is running fine. This one was running. So 2 and 3 are fine. They're just 2 degrees hotter. So that could be anything. Wind. So connected, 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 connected. That's good. These are good through. These are banging through. That's good. Let's go over here. So one's my cold daddy, so I don't really have to worry about that. So that was an easy fix that electricity wasn't connected. So as you can see, the plane's still perfectly functional. I just have to drop it down a little bit. All right, so this is good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this again as cooling test. I'm gonna save it again as backup. And now I can actually do some changes. And so what I'm gonna do is trying to think how I have the cooling set up. Let me look. So I think they're triggered to turn on cooling at a certain temperature. Where is this? Cooling, 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 panel, less than, blinker constant. Alternator, so this is how my generators are controlled with PID. Coolant pumps right here, so if we go over 30 degrees, it turns on the coolant pump. So that's all that's doing. All right, so that is that. So they will come on at 30. I'm trying to think what I should do to set these up. So I'm going to do 2 tests. I'm not going to finish them now, but I'll do a little bit of work in here. So the longer your run of pipes, the the worse your flow is. So I'm trying to need to get my flows up here. Let's see. I don't want to rip the whole engine apart again. They're not doing bad. They could outflow better. I'm trying to think what I should do here. See, like I have pretty long runs of piping, and so what I could do here is, let me see what this does. See, this is annoying. I have like, this covers it there. I can't punch through there really effectively. I could punch the side though, so that's good. Okay, so let's do this. Let's turn on symmetry, and I just want to get this to pipe a little bit better. So this is water, and then this here is air. So I'm going to fake my air outflows here, like that. And so I have them going up there. This can stay as a decorative item, but again, like I was saying, their T-pieces are not great for flow. And so I want to take that off. And so this is going to, by decreasing this is going to keep my flow rate higher. Cooling's all in game is all about flow rate. Higher the flow rate, the better your cooling. So that now, so I'm going to have a couple spots to actually blow the air out. This actually won't be what's pushing the air out. And so this is where my air is going to exit now, instead of those 2 grills, because T-piece in them is a mistake. That's going to cause me issues. So, all right, we'll go like that, and that should be set up, and then we'll connect these, and then this will be a shorter run. So again, the shorter your run of actually having of how far your pipes go, that really helps in increasing your airflow, increase your flow rate, and that will increase my cooling. So this way, now the air is going to exit right here, and I'm not going long distances with it, which has the potential of slowing down my flow rate and causing me cooling issues. There we go, and we'll paint it first. So I also want to do the intakes on the air. The water is fine. The water is actually a pretty short run. The water is about as short as it's going to get. Um, you know, eventually I'll go in here and I'll check all the flow rates to make sure they're good. So I'm going to do a test, and so the test is going to be, see, this actually has a pretty long run up to the pumps. Don't know how I can really cut it down. Again, I don't really want a T-piece. Kind of like the RAM the way it is. You know, of course, you know, a bunch of people probably scream and do electric radiators. I don't want to do electric radiators because it's not realistic. So I tend to try to keep this realistic. This should be an air-cooled engine, and it's going to be an air-cooled engine, so that's why I do them this way. See, if I branch this way, I lose a bunch of space. I'm going to keep this like this. We'll see how much that flow rate changes. You know, these runs are a little bit longer than I would like, but you know, I don't think they're a huge deal. One thing I could do is like this one, I could probably push it back a little bit and add some pumps, but so that kind of sets me up to test it. So so these two now, 1 and 4 should, we'll see if I get an appreciable cooling increase here. Again, you know, this one had an electrical problem. I didn't connect up electricity. That's why that was my new hot one. And then now these are going to bring in air the same way. They're going to output air differently. And so that's going to be a test to see if that works better or worse. And so that's kind of the thought process with that. You know, so if 1 and 4 are now my cooling champions, that will tell me. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna fly this. Yeah, let's save this really quick to backup. All right, and so this should show me a difference. So 1 and 4 should now be my cooling rock stars. If they're not, then nothing changed. I could, you know, I could easily check the flow rates. But I'll actually go do a hot test. I will, you know, probably cut the video where you don't have to watch it. You know, me get up the temperature. No point you watching the flight all the way to get up the temperature. I'm going to get this up, and I will get this rocking and rolling. And then that will tell me what my temp's doing. Okay, so let's just get going here. I think that dog's out over the ocean. I recalled the vehicle. Well, the dog was in it, so. I didn't change the save, though, so the dog will be back. The dog just always pants in my videos. Flaps are going to come to takeoff. Logo light. Let's fold the tail. Let's turn the heater on again. I want to keep the test pretty much the same. So running with the heater, you know, all that. Keep it as close to the same as possible. The other thing I was thinking of doing is I have my differential braking, and so I was thinking of maybe when I tap on my brakes with 3 or 4. Right now it does a ramp up, so it essentially is doing an up-down counter, and it's increasing the braking force incrementally. I might just have it go to max brake all at once. That might be a little bit more useful to me. You know, just quickly slam the brake on that side, help me turn, because that's the whole point of it, is to turn. I still use spacebar for my regular braking, so still have plenty of brake if I need it, but you know, that way I can kind of slam them, and then if I want to press 3 and 4 at the same time, I could do maximum braking, so that might be have more utility to me. Yep, I need that's the center of thrust is high, so I have to kind of counter that with some elevator. And positive rate gears coming up. Flaps will stay until you get going. Let's do 078. 078, let's go. Check out the window. 5,000. Trying to keep the parameters of the test the same. Heading, hold, altitude, hold, autopilot's coming on. About 100 knots, flaps coming up. Again, not going to touch my prop, going to keep my thrust maxed. And I will be back with you guys when this gets there. But right now we have the temps looking the same, so that may or may not have changed anything. If it doesn't change anything, then I'll go back to the other one, because there's no point in rerouting them if I'm not getting any change. Alright, so we're still testing the cooling here. I just loaded the start, so let me just get this set up again here. Oh, must reset Lua on restart. I did not know that. So, checking temps. So temps are really nice and cold, and as you see, they're stable and they're all synced, which is the most important thing. And so, I'm at full throttle. Again, you know, the way it works is with manifold pressure now for thrust. Internally, it still works the same pretty much, but you get different readings. So, you know, initially I simulated the way the props and throttles work IRL, and then the, you know, it was simulated correctly, and then I ended up just changing essentially the display of it to display correctly, so have that going. Temps are really good. Trying to check and see how long we've been up here. But, so let's just do this. This will tell us how long we've been up here. So not that long. You know, if I put a distance here. You know, I don't want to go overly robust with cooling. I want to be able to maintain max speed, but have it like right on the hairy edge. So you do have to watch it. So 19 kilometers, so we haven't been going that far. And so what I want to do here is we're at 5,000 feet. We're not very high, and so we're not getting the cold temperatures. Generally, I think it's over 10,000 you start getting cooler, because you'll notice that if you're up in the Arctic and you have your heater on and you also have a winter coat on, you need that over 10. So I assume that, you know, it seems there's hard cutoffs in game, which would make sense with something like cooling. It's, you know, to graduate it would probably be, I don't know if they might graduate it, but they may not. But you know, a lot of the cooling issues this had was just connection issues. You know, I essentially, when I put the engines in, I essentially took one. Just checking lights here. I just took one. I took this number 1 engine, the one all the way to the left wing, and I duplicated it and put it across all 4. And then if I made any changes later, you know, I had to hook them all up, and so a lot of them were just hookup errors. And then, so if you notice the new outflows here on this one, that one should have a shorter run, so less piping, better flow rate going to on that one. But if you notice, the temps are a little bit better. I'm 0.6 and I'm 0.3 there, so I'm about 0.3 differential on that. So it really doesn't add a ton, and so it's about 0.3 to do that, to shorten the pipes up. So let's say that I could shorten a bunch of pipes up. We're probably talking only about, you know, maybe let's say a degree. I could knock a degree off. We're still not, you know, we're still not appreciably decreasing temperature yet. I'm just checking. Max thrust. Prop should be all the way back. Okay, so never mind. I'm running it in worst case scenario. All right, this video is cut. You know, work has been very busy. This is our Christmas season, of course, and so we very busy. So I have about probably an hour or less per day of free time. So I'm forgetting how I set this up. So I set this up in worst case scenario, so that's fine. What I'll do is I will come back on best case scenario. So I'm going to go out until we hit about 100 degrees. And then I'm going to turn around and come back. I'm putting down at 5,000 feet, just like I said, you know, I want to stay in the hot air. I'm running down an arid biome. Let's see where we're at here with temp. See, we're just in the crown of the hot temp, so I don't need to run super hot because I'm thinking that if I'm in the super hot area, yeah, of course I should be pulling my engines back. I'm in an incredibly hot area, so that doesn't really bother me. I'm kind of wanting that to be really hot, so you know, you'd have to do that. So we're in worst case scenario. So we have the engines all the way up, and we have the propellers set as flat as possible, so they're only at about 10%, and that's why we're putting around at 110 knots. If I added more pitch to the prop, essentially bringing your prop levers back in real life, what would happen is that would put more strain in my engine but give me better efficiency. It would reduce the RPM. You use your propellers to change your RPM. And so as I bring my propellers back, the RPM would go down. Decreased RPM on modular engines is going to give you decreased heat production, also decreased fuel usage. So these are still climbing. See, that one is 0.6, 0.9. So this is, yeah, like still 0.3. So again, it's not 8, 3, 6. This one's hot. This is funny. This was my coldest one, and this one's now hot. That is funny. But, yeah, so I'm just testing this. I know this kind of might be a little boring for some, but this is kind of, you know, the testing phase is important to kind of figure out these things. And a lot of people have been having issues with cooling lately, so I figured I would, you know, got to take you guys on this cooling ride to let you know what's going up with that. So I'm going to put in FJ Warner, which is 630. And so let's go ahead and put that in the ADF. Alright, 630 FJ's in there, and then that's 23, so we're out of range anyway. So what I'm looking to do is, these are coming up on 100 degrees. The plan is this. At 100 degrees, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go, what's our current heading? So we'll do, what's the reciprocal of that? That's always tough. I'm going to look up the compass reciprocal. That's a tough one. I forget how to do that one. 290. Yeah, no, that's right. Okay. So yeah, you go up. It's the same formula. It just, you know, I used to remember these things, and now I don't. But so you essentially add 2 to the first digit, so that'd be 3. You subtract 2, so that would be 9. And then because we went down, you have to drop it, so 291. So let's go ahead, and we should be ready for our turn here in a second. We're up in our, so like that one's hot. So now, I find this hilarious that my coldest was now my hottest. But that means, you know, I made some appreciable changes that got that where it needs to be. So now let's see. So I'm going to check these. So I'm going to do a new, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just writing down the engines, and then I'm going to do, so I'm going to kind of, you know, so that's 93.7, 93.7. Then this one's about 0.3 less, so that would be, oh no, this one's 0.3 more. So this would be 94. If that's 94, that one's running about 0.3 higher, so that would be 94.3. And then this one here is matched, I think, with this one pretty well, so that would be 94. So that just kind of gives me a range. You know, my number 3 engine's running 0.3 hotter. My number 1 engine's running 0.3 colder. So that's really not, I don't think, worth going in there and changing a bunch of pipe lengths to get that. I'm probably going to add some more cooling. I want to keep this, like, we are in the hot zone, but I want to keep this to be able to run close to 100% for a long time, and then overheat when I'm in the south. So I do want to overheat when I'm down here if I run at full throttle all the time. That's going to give me an excuse and a reason to go up to high altitude to pick up some of that cold air. You know, I don't want to have to pull my throttle back too much, and so that makes it so the trips up to the Arctic, we're going to have good cooling. Going up to high altitude makes sense. You know, so let's go ahead and let's make this turn early. you know, we're close enough here. Let's go ahead and turn to 291. Oh, that's the wrong one. 291. All right, so what we're going to do on this turn is now I'm turning around. Once I get turned around, I'm going to go in, I'm going to keep my power maxed, and I'm going to bring my propellers back all the way so that they have the highest blade pitch, and that's going to give me much greater efficiency. It's going to add load to the engines, which will decrease the heat of the engines. It will also increase my speed. So we're only putting around at about 100 knots, and now this will allow us to go faster. So we actually are reading this bearing correctly. So let's actually go nav, radio, and let's let that track in. Is it going? Is the question. I don't think it is yet. So let's go back on heading hole. Is that it? That's our waypoint there. So let's go left 280, and let's see if you know, once this gets within 20, about 20 nautical miles, that's when we have reception. It's 40 kilometers, so you figure about half of that. So we're talking about 20 nautical mile is our range to that radio. So now we should be getting close to 100 here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my props to max pitch, and so as you see, it's going to increase my manifold pressure, which it really wouldn't do, but you notice the RPM is coming down. The RPM is what's creating heat, and you notice here comes our speed. So we're coming up on speed, and we're coming down. I'm trying to see where I have to go to get the temperature to come down. And so I'm going to have to start bringing the engines down, which is fine. So let's start cranking the engines down. And so I want to see what stasis is, where I can just kind of stabilize them. Because I want to be able to crank around at full speed, and maybe have to pull it back in the hot area, which we are in the hot area. But I don't want to have to yank my speed back all the time. Alright, so we're getting close to stasis here. I'm still pulling my thrust back. I'm pushing the wrong key. Alright, I haven't actually decreased my... You know what I did? I just completely screwed myself up here. Alright, let me fix this again. I'm just getting close to overheating, so I have to be careful here. Alright, I have to start bringing my engines back now before I overheat. I was hitting the wrong key, and all I did was push my props back up. So I'm not unhappy with this. We are in the hot zone. I'm going to add just a little bit of cooling. I don't need a ton of cooling. So I just want to get these to slightly drop. So that's about stable. If that digit goes up, I just need probably one more tap. Okay, now we're going down. So we are stable. So we're cruising at 128 knots, full prop. The manifold's going to read funky because I think the manifold is reading off of the air intakes, which are actually off of these. So they're being scooped and supercharged, so they're giving me erroneous readings. So right now I'm stabilized. I'm actually losing some temp. This one is now hotter, which is interesting to me. This one was the one that should be colder, and it's running hotter, which is strange. This one's running colder. Very strange. So that's pretty negligible what I did there. Let me check this. Okay, so we're dropping temp. So we're doing 128 knots, which isn't bad. We pull back. Let me see what these are rating. So we're set at 12.9 RPS on our engines. We're not doing a bad speed, so I don't need too much cooling. So I can run it about, I'm just going to write some notes down here, and so then we're going to recall it to the workbench, and I'm going to put a little bit more coolant in. I'm not going to test it again, we'll just do it, as I play with this, but it should get better, So we can run at 128 knots at a throttle set of 13. Let me just write it down. At Throttle setting of 12.98. And then we're losing temp. Slight loss of temp. Alright, so, and again, we're at low altitude. We're only at 5,000 feet. So because we're only at 5,000 feet, that's going to, we're still in the hot air. Jan has an outside air temperature. Let's go ahead and take the heater off. I've been running with the heater the whole time too. You notice that should probably be dropping faster now. Yeah, it is with the heater off. I'm doing this too. I want to check outside air temperature. I don't know which one's out. OAT. Oh, there it is up there. Outside air temperature is... So I'm waiting for this to stabilize. This should stay the same. So 13 degrees. C? Okay. It's got to be 13C. So we're talking 13, so that's at 13C. So I'm going to write that down too. At 13C OAT. Alright, so outside air temperature is 13. So, I was running with the heater too, but that's a test I need to do because at altitude I'm going to need to do that. So, why is this reading 307? That's what I want to know. I wonder if this is screwed up here. My FJ Warner is 630. Let's check this really quick while I'm here. 630, yeah. Why is this running? We're within range. It's running 309. I don't know why that's running 310. I don't know. I'm not going to screw with it. It's definitely not 310 though, so that's weird. That's... Oh, you know what? We're in my test world. There's no radios in my test world. Okay, that would be why. Alright, so let's do this. Let's recall this back to the bench. And let's do a little bit of cooling work, and then we'll call it a video there. So I'm pretty happy with the cooling. Cooling's not terrible. Cooling could use some work. So let's go ahead and let's see what we're looking at here for saves. So Proteus cooling test. Let's go ahead and save this to Proteus cooling test. And then let me show you how this is running. So I actually want to kind of pull one of these. So this here I don't need. So let's go ahead and let's cut this. So this is not worthwhile doing. So what I was doing here is I was shortening up the flow of the piping here. That was not really worth it at all. It did not do enough to make it worth my while to do all that. It's kind of just a bunch of nonsense, so don't really need that. So I want to kind of undo this. All right, so that just wasn't it wasn't effective enough to make it worthwhile rerouting it, and I have it looking the way I want. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put this back the way I had it, and I'm going to add some more cooling, and that way that should help. And then I want to just test flow rates, and then we'll call it a vid. But it's not bad. I've been having to slow down more than I want to, and so I don't want to have to slow down as much. So I'm kind of trying to not have to slow down my aircraft as much, and I like to keep the speed up a little bit. That will make things like container missions a little bit faster. Cooling takes a little bit of work in game. My thought is a lot of things they could just, if they just doubled them, they would make things more reasonable. All they would be doing is cutting out half the cooling we have to do, but, that would be helpful. All right, so one thing I want to check here is, let's paint this. All right, so let's grab this here. So I was going to make these openable, these engine nacelles, and I have not. And so let's go ahead, and I'm just going to delete a couple things here where I can get at them. So I want to be able to read this pump, this pump, this pump, this pump. This needs something, so just go like this. So I just need this to blow out, essentially. And then I want to find the lower pumps here, which are these two here. So if I just cut a door right about there, let's go right here. I'm just going to run one of these, and I should be able to hopefully see both of these and check them. And then that's going to just help me check this out and make sure this is running all right. And then let's do this side too. I'm just going to cut a bunch there. Okay, good. All right, so let's go ahead and spawn this. So the main thing with cooling is if you want to keep your engines nice and cool, crap. If you want to keep your engines nice and cool, you want to have good flow rates. Let's see what's trying to see what was I going to do. Prop. Trying to see where the props run from. Collective is for prop 1. Okay, so that goes there. That should give me a 0 prop. I just want, if the blade is flat on the prop, I can spin it up to full speed and it's not going to try to push me forward or pull me forward. So let's go ahead and so I'm just going to crank this all the way up. And we'll build some heat here. And it doesn't really matter. What I'm looking for, the heat I don't care about. What I care about is good flow rates. All right, so we have 0 liters, 0 liters. All right. So if this is running with no cooling, that would be very interesting to me. I'm getting no cooling right now. All right, so that is with no cooling. It's got to be cooling. It really does. Oh, you know what it is? If the engine temperature is below 30, the system doesn't even turn on. So I need to wait for this to go. That's why we're not getting cooling, is the system temp is below 30. Make sure that's closed. Checking this. 3 liters per second. See, the air volume is what I want, but see, I'd love to go off of this, but it's not stable enough. This shows me a nice 3 liters per second air volume on there. So I'm just kind of seeing what's up here. I'm just checking some stuff. All right, so until this hits 30, we're not going to get, these won't click on. So this is so that if you're just sitting here running, you're not really using a ton of electricity. So just kind of waiting here. Once this hits 30 degrees C, we're going to get, we'll get the pumps to turn on. And so what I want to see is I want to check oscillation. I shouldn't be getting a lot of oscillation. So you notice how this one kind of flutters. The digits are always fluttering. I don't want that with these. I want these to be very solid. I want to have solid flow rates. So they should, if they're solid, that's going to give us the best cooling. Can't really get close to this here. I wonder if I can read. See, like I want to read this. Let me check this really quick. Player damage is off. Usually I keep it off on this one. So I have a scoop under here. I'm curious what that does for me. You know, it's doing nothing now because they're still not turned on, but that's where my intake air comes in for my cooling. So just playing with some ideas. Again, I don't want this, you know, I want to still have to manage my own heat. So here's 30. So there's 31. So they're on now. And I'm not getting any flow. See, a very little flow. So I might not have any heating. Okay, so right there, see this fluid in, fluid out, 72.4, 72.4. So my liquid is stable. I have no problem with my liquid. So my liquid is running fine. My air is doing nothing. So that is very interesting. So I'm getting no airflow through this sucker. And I'm getting no airflow out. So essentially I have no cooling at the moment. So that is interesting. Let's go in here in the microcontroller here and test something. So let's do this. I don't want to spend all day doing this, so let's find it. Where are you at? Cooling. So cooling is right here. If it's greater than, I'm just going to detach that now. That's going to instantly come on. I'm just checking flow rates. I don't even need to run the engines for this. So I'm having flow rate issues where I'm getting nothing. And so I'm not even going to test both sides. Let me just quickly check paths here. So that goes like that, that goes like that, that goes in. So I'm curious if this is blocked like this. Let's go like that. And let's test that. So I'm just doing some quick tests. And so I want to see if I can get that airflow up. So essentially I had no cooling. Now, it says no cooling, but again, I was getting better numbers when I fixed the systems. I was getting even numbers. So it is cooling. It just might not be cooling the way I want it to be cooling. So that's true, getting nothing. That's fine. True, getting nothing. Okay. So I'm just checking, I'm just doing some tests here, trying to figure this out. Let's go, let's do a fluid port here. Just gonna color some pink blocks up there. Let's try this. So I'm just doing testing again. I'm trying to make sure that my airflow rates are getting positive airflow rates. I'm not. Okay, so see now I'm actually getting air. So that RAM, it was probably working up at altitude, but I'm getting nothing down here. So that fluid pump showing 0, 0. Down, now this is showing 0, 0. That's very interesting to me. All right, so I'm getting no airflow at all. You know, it's tough to test because I need, like when the propellers are blowing, I'm probably getting more air in. Yeah, it's very interesting. That is interesting to me. So that's on. I'm getting no flow rate, no airflow. All right, so let me pull something. So we'll end up here in a minute. I'm just doing some kind of some hunting on the cooling system, see how it works. That is air in. Okay, so I'm definitely putting in the right side. That is air out. Definitely putting air out the right side. And we know that the fluid side, air is a fluid as well, but the water side is running fine. So that's not a problem. I'm just having no airflow essentially, and I need airflow for an air cooling system. So how to get this to work is the question. So let me check all this. See, these are on and running. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and save this as, no, we won't. Let's save it as Proteus cooling test. And let's go in and let's just really quickly test something here. I'm just going to do some weight blocks just to make a base. You know, some people might use large pumps. Often, you know, I've done some testing. Large pumps don't really increase your flow sometimes, so I'm gonna test it with that. We'll see, but doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get increased flow rates. So I want to do a pump. All right, and so I'm gonna start with a RAM. What is it? Scoop. So I'm gonna start with a scoop here. I'm trying to simulate somewhat what I have there. And so all I really care about is I don't care about the liquid side. The liquid side is working fine. It's pushing liquid through fine. What I care about is, here's my air-to-air exchanger. See what side that is. That is air out. So I need to make sure I do this right. So let's cut that. My pump's the wrong way. I need to flip that too. So sometimes it works best to pull it and do like a test bench and make sure it's running right. So it definitely is working. It's just not working perfectly. All right, let's spawn that. Let's go infinite electricity. And so all I really want to test here is how is this flow rate working? So that is, see, this is pumping. Okay, so I'm curious if my run is just way, see, we're getting 40 liters per second. See how they're stable? They're not jittering. So that's working fine. That's blowing out fine. Okay, so let's do this. I'm probably overcomplicating the hell out of this. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's add this. I know me overcomplicate something. That would be a shock, wouldn't it? Now let's go fluid. So what I could be doing is running it too long. What I mean by that is the pipe's going too far. Now see if this works. All right, so see, we did increase our liters per second. Our liters per second was at 40 something. Now it's at 56. So definitely two pumps is running better. But we're getting airflow in. We're getting airflow out. That's working. So, okay, so this is now set up better. Okay, so we're going to do one test with Proteus. So let's grab Proteus again. And let's do this. So what I want to do is I'm going to kind of do a little bit of rippage here. So I actually don't need the air to come in from outside. The scoop is based on speed anyway. So let's see. So this is coming down here. Let's go ahead and let's really make this super duper simple. Where are you? You're in the wing, so that's fine. I'm just going to throw it on here for now. Let's just do this. And so all I really care about is this side for right now. So let's go ahead like this. And let's grab, I have a fluid port. Stick a fluid port on there. So that's a pretty short run. It's one elbow is all I have. And now I'm running like a big loop here. I don't need the loop. I can exhaust the heat into the engine compartment, no problem. So let's do that. Let's try to see if I can get stable flow rates on Proteus here. This will also cut down on my space I'm using. And then I won't belabor the testing. What I'll do is, in one of the videos, you guys can see the results. So there's my pump. Look at that, 75 liters per second. 75, beautiful. Okay, so this is going to be good. This is going to really increase cooling in here. So this is a better test. So now let's look at the other side. So I'm plugging this up somewhere. Zeros. So I'm blocking it up somewhere. So that system's not working. So I'm running too far. I'm running often T pieces screw you all up. So let's do this really quick. Let's return this to, jeez. Let's return this to Workbench and let's test this now. So right here, see how I'm all teed up and annoying? Let's cut this out like that. And let's add a section like that. And now let's test the other side. Let's check this side. All right, so that is, say we're stable at 75 on that side, oscillating on this side. So yeah, it's the pipe length is really killing me. So I thought that might be the case. Let's try something here. So let's go one more test, and then I'm going to call it a video. And so this was, I think, a good cooling experiment. Again, generally I run with liquids and boats and stuff, but just trying to find out the peculiarities of this so I can really simplify this and make this just run a lot cooler, I think. And so let's check it now. All right, so it's still oscillating. So see how those numbers are oscillating? That is how you don't cool. If your numbers, and see now it's done. If it's oscillating, you're in trouble. See how it's stable, stable, stable? That's what you want. You want a stable system. So this much simpler system is going to keep me stable. If my liquid, if my water on the bottom That's my fluid in, fluid out is my water running through my engine. You notice how those are rock solid. And then if you notice, my top is rock solid. Now you notice that I'm at 75 liters per second on the air, and I'm at 72. That's because of pipe length on the bottom. So kind of have a path to go here on how to reform these engines. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. And thanks for watching the Career Build series, and I'll see you in the next one.